I'm told by many that this bill is not politically popular. I support it because it's right for America. I support it because it's fair. I support it because it will, when combined with our cuts in government spending, reduce interest rates and put more Americans back to work again. The measure the Congress is about to vote on, while not perfect in the eyes of any one of us, will bring us closer to the goal of a balanced budget, restored industrial power, and employment for all who want to work. Together, we can reach that goal.
That was Ronald Reagan back in 1983, making the case to raise taxes. Now, one Republican says there would be no room for Reagan in today's Republican Party or room for his successor, President George Herbert Walker Bush. President Bush's son, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, told a group of journalists today, quote, Ronald Reagan would have, based on his record of finding accommodation, finding some degree of common ground, as would my dad. They would have had a hard time if you define the Republican Party, and I don't say, as having an orthodoxy that doesn't allow for disagreement, doesn't allow for finding some common ground. Bush went on to say, quote, back to my dad's time, or Ronald Reagan's time, they got a lot of stuff done with a lot of bipartisan support that right now would be difficult to imagine happening. Reagan raised taxes. He compromised with Democrats in Congress. Policies the Republican nominee for president, Mitt Romney, won't campaign on. Jeb Bush's comments are now being called bizarre and foolish by the architect of modern GOP's anti-tax pledge, Grover Norquist. Norquist defended Reagan from the moderate label and argued Reagan would embrace today's GOP telling talking points memo. Quote, he didn't have a Republican House committed to not raising taxes as president, and he had a pre-Reagan Senate. This is the Republican Party that Reagan created, that he envisioned. Let's turn to Joan Walsh, editor-at-large for Salon.com. Welcome to the show, Joan.
Thanks, Michael. Is
Grover Norquist engaging in some revisionist history here, Joan, that really misses the point of what we clearly saw Reagan doing?
Well, yeah, of course he is. I mean, of course he wants to claim Reagan for this party that he's created that has brought the country to the brink of a debt crisis and continues to mire the country in a terrible recession, Michael. He needs to say Ronald Reagan wanted that. Ronald Reagan would have endorsed that. But I think it's actually more interesting to look at what Jeb Bush is doing, because while he's declaring his independence from Grover Norquist and his party, he's also delivering a kind of vote of no confidence in Mitt Romney, even though he's endorsed him, because I see that as it is a bizarre statement for someone. If you think it's not something you say if you think your party is headed to a great win in November, it's really the kind of thing you hear the morning after an election where you've done very badly. So I really wonder what's up with that.
So he's already anticipating a potential loss of Mitt Romney, shall we say? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you think he's kind of ginning up to that point? That
is really the way I took it. If you're saying, you know, we probably do need to raise revenues, and you criticize. He also went on to criticize him, you know, quite directly for his immigration, for his really anti-immigrant policies. You know, those are not the kinds of things that you do if you are confident in your candidate and you think your party is going to prevail in November. They're really the kinds of things you do if you're worried that you're headed for a great defeat and you're going to be regrouping in December and January.
Right. Well, let's stick to that point. He's also questioning the GOP's approach to immigration. He says Romney needs to change his tone on the subject matter. Now, some of this may be existential given the fact that Jeb Bush is married to a woman of Latino descent, which seems to make a difference in his understanding holistically of the problem. Will the Republican Party heed his advice?
No. I mean, not anytime soon. It will be interesting. If Mitt Romney loses in November, I think that there will just be a bloodbath, and there will be a lot of blame and finger pointing. But it's going to come in two directions. You will see people like Jeb Bush saying we went too far, we've got to take the party back from the Tea Party. But then I think you'll also see Tea Party people saying Mitt Romney was never our guy. Mitt Romney was a moderate, and what we really need is somebody to the right of Ronald Reagan, to the right of Attila the Hun. So, but I do feel that Jeb Bush is stepping out there, whether it's hoping for 2016 or just hoping to be a party elder, reshaping his party in advance of what it seems like he thinks is a kind of a not a positive electoral direction for Mitt Romney and the party.
Look, this is unfair. We only got 30 seconds left, but you can do it. You're Joan Walsh. He also doubts whether any president can improve the economy considering the headwinds in Europe. President Obama has been mocked by the right for making the same argument. Will we see other Republicans come to the president's defense here?
No, we won't. I was shocked. That was probably the most shocking thing he said in that whole line of remarks. It really does help the president. It does not help Mitt Romney. But all three things are really a dose of realism for this party that is stuck in a fantasy. So we'll see.
No revisionist history. And Joan Walsh, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Michael.
That's The Ed Show. I'm Michael Eric Dyson, in for Ed Schultz.